Harper sat at the edge of the park, staring at the people moving through the open space. They walked, talked, laughed, completely unaware that their lives were on the verge of erasure. She had seen it happen to her brother first, then to her best friend, and now she feared it was coming for her. The world had changed 3 years ago when Vailtech released its breakthrough virtual reality glasses, the Echelon. The device offered users an enhanced version of reality, one where your dreams, desires, and every possible pleasure could be overlaid onto the real world. It was more than just augmented reality. It was a world where you could shape your surroundings to match your ideal life. Everything felt real, looked real, and for many it became more real than life itself. Harper had resisted at first. She loved the world as it was, imperfections and all. But nearly everyone around her had bought into the Echelon. Her city felt empty without them. Friends became distant, family disconnected, lost in their customized fantasies. The virtual paradise that people could create for themselves was irresistible to most, but Harper clung to her reality, the one she could touch and trust. The problem was, reality didn't seem to want her anymore. People who used the Echelon too frequently started to fade. At first it was subtle, slight differences in behavior, moments of forgetfulness, but then they began to lose themselves, becoming thin, like they were slipping out of focus. Harper's brother, Ethan, had been one of the first. He loved his Echelon and used it constantly. He said it made him feel alive in a way the real world never could, until one day, he simply disappeared. Not vanished in the physical sense. He was still there, but not quite. Harper would see him in the house, sitting in the chair with the glasses on, but it was as if he wasn't solid anymore, his form growing more and more transparent with each passing day. And then one morning she woke up and he was just gone, not even a trace left behind. She tried to report it, but no one seemed to care. Too many were fading now. It was the price of escape, they said. Now, Harper feared that the same thing was happening to her, even though she had never used the glasses. The edges of her world were blurring, colors bleeding into one another. At first she thought it was just exhaustion or stress, but it wasn't. She knew it wasn't. Her phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. A message from a number she didn't recognize. "You're not the only one left. Meet me tonight, 10 p.m., Warehouse District, Building 7. Harper's pulse quickened. Someone else was out there. Someone who hadn't faded. It could be a trap, but she had no choice. She needed answers. That night, Harper made her way to the Warehouse District, her breath visible in the cold air. The buildings loomed over her, dark and empty, except for one. A single light flickered in the window of Building 7. As she approached the door, it creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior. A man stood in the center of the room, his face obscured by the shadows. Harper stepped inside cautiously, her eyes narrowing. "You sent the message?" she asked. The man stepped forward, revealing a face lined with age and worry. He looked tired, like someone who had been fighting a battle he couldn't win. "I did. My name's Marcus. You're Harper, right?" She nodded, eyeing him warily. "Why did you contact me?" "Because you're still real," Marcus said quietly. "You're not one of them yet." "One of who?" Harper demanded, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "What's happening to everyone? Why are people disappearing?" Marcus sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. "The Echelon. It's more than just a virtual escape. It's a system that rewrites reality, slowly pulling people out of this world and into another. The more they use it, the less tethered they become to the physical world. Eventually, they fade completely, transferred into a virtual existence where they don't even know they've left." Harper's stomach churned. "But I've never used the Echelon. I shouldn't be fading." Marcus met her eyes, his expression grim. "That's the thing. Once enough people around you disconnect, the real world starts unraveling too. You're seeing the edges blur because reality itself is breaking down. The more people leave, the weaker this version of reality becomes." Harper took a step back, the weight of his words pressing down on her chest. "So what can we do? How do we stop it?" Marcus shook his head slowly. "I don't know if we can. The company built the Echelon to be self-sustaining. It pulls in users, offers them the perfect world, and erases any trace of their real life. They're happy in there, so they never want to leave. The more who join, the more this world collapses." Harper's mind raced. She had to do something, but what? If the world was falling apart, how could she fight back against a system so massive, so ingrained? There has to be a way to reverse it, she insisted. What about those who haven't faded yet? Can we bring them back? Marcus hesitated, then finally nodded. Maybe. But to do that, we'd need to shut down the core servers, the ones that keep the virtual world running. They're heavily guarded, though. Vailtech won't let anyone near them. Harper clenched her fists. I'll go. I'll find the servers and shut them down. If I can save even a few people, it's worth it. Marcus looked at her with a mix of admiration and sorrow. You're brave, but it's dangerous. If you're caught, they won't just erase you. They'll pull you into the virtual world and you'll forget everything. I'd rather fight for reality than fade into a fantasy, Harper said firmly. Marcus nodded, handing her a small device. This will help you locate the main server. Once you're inside, you'll have to be quick. If they detect you, it's over. Harper took the device, her heart pounding with determination. I won't let them win. The next day, Harper stood outside Vailtech's main facility, the towering glass structure reflecting the artificial perfection that had stolen the lives of so many. She had memorized the layout, planned her route, and steeled herself for what was to come. With one final breath, she slipped into the building, her goal clear in her mind. This was the last chance to save reality before it faded into oblivion.